Welcome to Cognitive Curves. In today's episode, we're diving into one of the most intriguing and, let's be honest, controversial topics in psychology psychedelics. Yeah, we're talking about psilocybin, LSD and MDMA, compounds that for decades have been considered taboo. But could they actually be key players in revolutionizing mental health treatment? Well, the latest research has some fascinating things to say, so let's dig into it. All right, let's rewind a bit. Back in the 1950s and 60s, psychedelics were in the spotlight, and not just in hippie communes. There was serious scientific research happening. People like Dr. Timothy Leary and Dr. Stanislav Grof were studying how LSD and other psychedelics could help with mental health. Early results showed they might be helpful for things like anxiety, depression, and even addiction, but by the mid-60s, things took a sharp turn. Concerns about misuse and lack of regulation led to psychedelics getting lumped into the bad drug category. And boom, research shut down. It's like someone hit a giant pause button, and we lost decades of potential insights. Now, in recent years, researchers have hit play again. Armed with modern neuroscience and a better understanding of psychology, they're picking up where we left off. And the results? Honestly, pretty mind-blowing. So, let's zoom in on one compound that's stealing the show right now, psilocybin. This is the active ingredient in what we call magic mushrooms, and the science backing it is solid. Places like Johns Hopkins University and Imperial College London have run studies showing that in a therapeutic setting, psilocybin can dramatically reduce symptoms of depression, anxiety and PTSD. There's this standout study from JAMA Psychiatry in 2020, where just a single dose, just one, combined with therapy, led to big lasting improvements in patients with major depressive disorder. I mean, imagine a treatment that kicks in quickly and keeps working long after. That's like the holy grail of mental health care. Dr. Roland Griffiths from Johns Hopkins called it a reset button for the brain, which is a pretty cool way to describe it. It's like these psychedelics help people break out of their stuck thought patterns and gain a new perspective. And who doesn't want a reset button sometimes? Okay, let's switch gears and talk about MDMA, which most people know as the main ingredient in ecstasy. Now, MDMA isn't technically a classic psychedelic, but it's often lumped in with them because of its therapeutic potential. The non-profit MAPS, Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, has been leading the charge on this one. They've run studies showing that MDMA-assisted therapy could be game-changing for PTSD. In 2021, they wrapped up phase 3 clinical trials, and the results were crazy promising. Around 67% of the people who got MDMA no longer even met the criteria for PTSD after the treatment. For comparison, the placebo group saw only about 32% improvement. That's a huge gap. So why is MDMA so effective? Researchers think it creates this emotional safety net by flooding the brain with feel-good chemicals like serotonin and oxytocin. This lets people confront and process their trauma without being overwhelmed by it. It's like they're finally able to face their demons head-on. How do these substances actually work? All right, so at this point you might be thinking, what's actually going on in the brain? Great question. Psilocybin and MDMA affect the brain in different ways, but both seem to shake up how our brains process emotions and memories. With psilocybin, it mainly acts on serotonin receptors, which leads to changes in mood, perception, and cognition. It also reduces activity in the brain's default mode network, or DMN. The DMN is like your inner monologue, the part of your brain that's always chattering. Reducing that activity seems to help people see their experiences more objectively. Now, MDMA is all about releasing big doses of serotonin and oxytocin, those trust and empathy chemicals. This creates a space where people feel safe enough to tackle tough emotions and memories without that intense fear response. One crucial piece of the puzzle that researchers keep emphasizing is set and setting. What does that mean? It's all about mindset and environment. When it comes to psychedelics, taking them in the right place with the right guidance can make all the difference. It's not just popping a pill and seeing what happens. That's why therapists are there to help people prepare, support them during the experience, and then work through what they learned afterward. This part, called integration, is super important. It's about turning those insights into real, lasting change. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are still a ton of legal and ethical issues to sort out. Psychedelics are still illegal in most places, and there's a lot of stigma hanging over them. But change is slowly happening. In the United States, Oregon took the first step by legalizing psilocybin therapy, and Canada is giving exemptions to terminally ill patients. But even with these changes, researchers are wary about potential misuse or over-commercialization. There's a real risk that psychedelics could be marketed irresponsibly, especially to vulnerable people seeking help for serious conditions like PTSD or depression. So, what does the future look like? Well, the United States FDA has already labelled both psilocybin and MDMA as breakthrough therapies, which means they're being fast-tracked for approval. In the next decade, it's not crazy to imagine that we could see psychedelic-assisted therapy as a regular part of mental health care. That said, it's not a magic bullet. Experts caution that psychedelics aren't a cure-all. There's still a lot of research to be done on the long-term effects, and we need to figure out the best ways to use these substances responsibly. So, could psychedelics revolutionize mental health treatment? It sure looks like it. The research is incredibly promising and shows that these substances, when used responsibly, could help people overcome some of the most challenging mental health conditions. But, as with anything, they're not a one-size-fits-all solution, and they come with their own risks and challenges. But one thing's for sure, this is a super exciting time for psychology and mental health treatment. We're witnessing the start of a new era, and that brings a lot of hope for those struggling with issues that traditional treatments haven't been able to touch. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into psychedelics here at Cognitive Curves. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe to stay updated on all the latest in psychology and mental health research. And hey, I want to hear your thoughts on psychedelic therapy. Do you think it's the future of mental health treatment? Drop a comment below and let's chat about it.